The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a vast bowl carved from black stone. Thousands of seats rose in circular tiers, each one designed for a different alien species. Some seats held creatures with many arms, others had beings that floated in special atmosphere bubbles. The air hummed with the sound of dozens of translation devices working at once. At the center of it all stood an ancient figure that most beings had only heard about in stories. Elder Mordek of the Velthani people looked older than the stars themselves. His shell-like body bore deep scars from wars fought long before most species had learned to fly between planets. His 6 eyes, each one milky with age, swept across. The assembled representatives. "I have called this emergency session for one reason," Mordek began, his voice crackling through the translators. "The humans have begun expanding again. 3 new colonies in the past month. You must understand what this means." A ripple of sounds filled the hall. Some species made clicking noises that meant disagreement. Others released chemical scents that showed they were not worried. In the front row, Ambassador Kreltos of the Stellar Hegemony waved his thick tentacles in a gesture of dismissal. "Elder Mordek," Kreltos said, his voice booming through his species translator. "We respect your age and wisdom. But these humans control barely 50 star systems. The hegemony alone controls over 2,000. The Zephyrian Empire has 3,000. Why should we fear such a small species?" Mordek's ancient eyes focused on the younger alien. "Because you do not know what they are capable of. I do. My people learned this lesson 300 years ago, during what your histories call the Great Silence War." The hall grew quieter. Every species knew about the Great Silence War, though few knew the details. An entire sector of space had gone dark for 50 years. When scout ships finally returned to that region, they found empty worlds and destroyed space stations. No one knew what had caused it. "The humans were involved in the Great Silence?" asked Minister Vexara of the Crystal Collective. Her crystalline body chimed softly as she spoke. "Involved?" Mordek made a sound that his translator rendered as bitter laughter. "They caused it. Not intentionally, but they caused it nonetheless." He activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. A red section marked the area where the Great Silence had occurred. 3 centuries ago, my people discovered a small fleet of primitive ships in this sector. The beings inside called themselves humans. They had just learned to travel between stars using crude fusion drives. Their ships were made of simple metals and held together with welding and hope. Mordek paused, his scarred shell reflecting the holographic light. "We thought they were refugees from some disaster. Their technology was so basic that we assumed they were harmless. We offered them food, fuel, and safe passage to uninhabited worlds where they could build new homes." "That sounds reasonable," said Council Leader Thexim. "What went wrong?" "The Corvin Syndicate happened," Mordek replied. "The Corvin pirates had been raiding trade routes in that sector for decades. They saw these primitive human ships and decided they would make easy targets for slaves and salvage." The elder's voice grew darker. "The Corvins attacked a human colony ship. It was carrying 10,000 humans, including their young. The ship had no weapons, no shields, nothing but basic life support and an old fusion engine." Several beings in the hall made sounds of sympathy. Attacking ships full of families was considered evil by most civilized species. "The humans sent out a distress call," Mordek continued. "They begged for help. They offered to pay any price, give up any possessions, If someone would just help them save their children. And no one answered? Minister Vexara asked. Oh, someone answered, Mordek said grimly. The Corvins. They told the humans that no help was coming. They said they would take the children as slaves and kill the adults. They gave the humans 1 hour to surrender. The hall was completely silent now. Even the translation devices seemed to hum more quietly. What the Corvins did not know, Mordek said, was that humans had been fighting wars on their home planet for thousands of years. They had learned to make weapons from anything. They had learned to keep fighting even when defeat seemed certain. The holographic display changed to show a recording from that long-ago battle. The images were grainy and old, but clear enough to see what happened. The colony ship rammed the Corvin flagship, Mordek said as the recording played. The humans had stripped every piece of metal from their ship's interior and welded it into a massive spear on the front. They accelerated to nearly the speed of light and drove that spear straight through the Corvin ship. Gasps echoed through the hall. Ramming attacks were considered desperate and usually suicidal. Both ships were destroyed, Mordek continued. 10,000 humans died, but they took 15,000 Corvins with them, including the entire Corvin command structure. That's tragic, Ambassador Kreltos said, but one battle does not make humans dangerous to the entire galaxy. Mordek's scarred face turned toward the hegemony representative. One battle? You think there was only one battle? The recording changed to show dozens of other scenes. Human ships, still primitive and crude, engaging Corvin forces across multiple star systems. But each battle showed the humans using different tactics, different weapons, different strategies. The humans did not just fight one battle and die, Mordek explained. They fought a war. Every human ship that encountered Corvins became a weapon. Cargo haulers rammed warships. Research vessels released experimental diseases. Even medical ships found ways to kill. The images showed increasingly desperate Corvin forces retreating from system after system. The humans followed them, Mordek said quietly. They followed the Corvins back to their homeworlds. They tracked down every pirate base, every hidden station, every secret stronghold. And they destroyed them all. Surely the Corvins tried to negotiate, suggested Minister Vexara. They did. The Corvin leadership offered to return all stolen goods, pay compensation, even exile the pirates who had attacked the colony ship. The humans' response was broadcast on all frequencies. A new recording began to play. It showed a human woman, standing on the bridge of a damaged ship. Her clothes were torn and stained with blood, but her eyes burned with cold fury. My name is Captain Park Jiwon of the Earth Vessel Determination, the woman said. The beings you call Corvins attacked our families. They killed our children. We offered them our surrender, our possessions, our service. They chose to take our lives instead. Jiwon stepped closer to the camera. So now we will take theirs. All of them. Every Corvin ship, every Corvin base, every Corvin world. We will hunt them to the edge of the galaxy if necessary. There will be peace when there are no more Corvins left to threaten anyone's children. The recording ended. The hall remained silent for a long moment. She kept that promise, Mordek said. Captain Jiwon and her people hunted the Corvins for 30 years. The Corvin Syndicate had controlled hundreds of worlds and commanded millions of ships. When the humans were finished, there were no Corvins left anywhere. That's impossible, protested Ambassador Kreltos. One primitive species cannot destroy an entire galactic civilization. Can they not? Mordek asked. He activated another display showing population records. The Corvan species numbered over 50 billion individuals before they encountered humans. Today there are 0. The numbers hung in the air like an accusation. The humans did not just win battles, Mordek continued. They learned from every fight. Their crude ships became sleek warships. Their simple weapons became tools of destruction we had never imagined. Most importantly, they learned about every species in that sector. "What do you mean?" asked Council Leader Thexam. "They studied us," Mordek replied. "All of us. They learned our biology, our psychology, our weaknesses. When other species tried to help the Corvans, the humans dealt with them too. They created specific weapons for each species. Sonic weapons that shattered crystalline beings. Biological agents that targeted Velthani neural systems, gravity weapons that crushed species that lived in high-pressure environments. Minister Vexara's crystalline body chimed in distress. They attacked neutral species? They attacked anyone who helped their enemies, Mordek said. The humans made it very simple. You were either neutral or you were a target. There was no middle ground. And after 30 years? Asked Thexam. After 30 years, that entire sector of space was empty except for humans, Mordek said. 57 different species had lived in that region. When the fighting ended, only one remained. The elder's voice grew heavy with ancient pain. My people lost our 3 oldest colonies. Billions of Velthani died because we tried to mediate between humans and Corvans. The humans saw mediation as taking the Corvans' side. "Why didn't you fight back?" demanded Kreltos. "We tried," Mordek said simply. "We all tried. The humans were relentless. They never stopped, never tired, never gave up. They fought like the universe itself was trying to kill them, and they refused to die." He looked around the great hall at all the assembled species. That was 300 years ago. The humans have spent that time building, learning, growing stronger. They now control 50 star systems, and each one is a fortress. Their technology has advanced beyond what most of us can understand. And you want to go to war with them because they're expanding too quickly? They're just one species, Kreltos insisted. We represent dozens of civilizations, millions of worlds, trillions of beings. Mordek's ancient eyes fixed on the hegemony ambassador. The Corvans said the same thing. The vote was 11-1. Elder Mordek cast the only vote against the human containment protocol. As the ancient Velthani watched the younger species celebrate their decision, he felt the weight of history pressing down on his scarred shell. They had not listened. They never listened. Ambassador Kreltos waved his tentacles in triumph. The motion passes. We will send a joint fleet to human space within the month. These primitive beings will learn their place in the galactic order. 3 months later, the joint fleet gathered at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. It was an impressive sight. 47 ships from 7 different species, each one representing the best military technology their civilizations could produce. The hegemony had sent their newest dreadnought, a ship 2 kilometers long and bristling with plasma cannons. The Crystal Collective contributed ships that could bend light around them, making them nearly invisible. The Zephyrian Empire brought vessels that could move faster than any human ship. Fleet Commander Zexhai of the Corithian Navy stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the tactical displays. The human colony in this system housed nearly 2 million people across 3 planets and dozens of space stations. Intelligence reports suggested the humans had perhaps 20 ships for defense, all of them outdated designs using primitive fusion. Technology. This will be over quickly, Zexhai told his officers. We'll demonstrate galactic authority. The humans will surrender and will return home as heroes. At the edge of the system, hidden behind the radiation shadow of a gas giant, human sensors tracked every ship in the alien fleet. Admiral Kim Dae-hyun sat in the command center of Orbital Defense Station, New Busan, watching the tactical screens with calm eyes. He had been expecting this day for months. "How many ships, Commander?" he asked his tactical officer. 47. "Confirmed, sir," replied Commander Lee Min-ho from his position at the sensor station. "Multiple ship classes, but they're maintaining standard formation patterns. They think this is going to be easy." Dae-hyun nodded slowly. "Send the evacuation signal to all civilian stations. Move the colonists to the inner planet's underground shelters, and activate the Prometheus Protocol. Around the system, human ships began moving into position. But these were not the crude vessels the aliens expected. 3 years ago, human engineers had made breakthrough discoveries in quantum mechanics and exotic matter manipulation. The ships that emerged from hidden bases throughout the system looked different from the old fusion-powered craft. They were sleek, angular, and covered in armor that seemed to absorb light. The alien fleet moved deeper into the system, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Commander HFY opened a communication channel to the human colonies. "Attention, human settlements," his voice echoed across all frequencies. "I am Fleet Commander HFY of the Galactic Council Enforcement Division. You have violated the terms of galactic law by expanding beyond your designated territory. You will immediately cease all expansion activities and submit to Council oversight. You have 1 hour to comply." The response came from Admiral Dae-hyun himself, broadcast from New Busan Station. "Commander HFY, this is Admiral Kim Dae-hyun of the Human Defense Force. You have entered sovereign human space without permission and issued threats against human civilians. You have 30 minutes to withdraw your fleet, or we will consider this an act of war." Laughter echoed across the alien communication channels. The idea that 20 primitive human ships could threaten 47 advanced alien vessels seemed absurd. "Admiral Dae-hyun," HFY replied, "you are outnumbered more than 2 to 1. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Be reasonable, surrender now, and no one needs to die." 29 minutes, Dae-hyun said calmly, then cut the communication. On the bridge of the human research vessel Determination, Captain Park Min-ho studied the approaching alien fleet. Min-ho was the grandson of the legendary Captain Ji-won, who had destroyed the Corvin Syndicate. He had inherited more than just her name. "All ships, this is Determination," he broadcast to the human fleet. "Remember what they did to the colony. Ship Harmony last year. Remember what they did to the research station at Wolf 359. They came here to kill our families. Show them what happens when you threaten human children." The alien fleet continued its approach, weapons charging, shields raised. They expected the humans to either surrender or make a desperate last stand with their inferior ships. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships disappeared. "What?" Commander HFY stared at his sensors in confusion. "Where did they go, sir?" his sensor officer reported. "I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system, but I can't locate the source. It's like the ships just vanished. They must be using some kind of stealth technology," HFY decided. "Maintain course. They can't hide forever." But the humans weren't hiding. They were using technology the aliens had never seen before. Dr. Park Sora, chief scientist of the human fleet, had spent 3 years developing quantum phase displacement drives. The human ships hadn't disappeared. They had shifted slightly out of normal space-time, becoming nearly impossible to detect while still being able to observe and target their enemies. "All units, this is determination," Captain Minho's voice echoed across the human fleet's quantum communication network. "Begin attack pattern 7. Remember, we're not here to win battles. We're here to send a message." The first sign of trouble for the alien fleet came when their lead ship, the hegemony dreadnought Conquering Star, suddenly found itself under attack from weapons that shouldn't exist. Streams of particles moving at near-light speed punched through. Its shields as if they weren't there. But these weren't ordinary particle beams. "Sir!" the Conquering Star's weapons officer shouted. "They're firing quantum-entangled projectiles. The beams are ignoring our shield harmonics." Before Commander HFY could respond, explosions began erupting across his ship. The human weapons weren't just penetrating the shields, they were somehow targeting the ship's internal systems directly. Fusion reactors began overloading. Life support systems started failing. Weapon batteries exploded in chains of secondary detonations. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," HFY ordered. "Return fire!" But the alien ships couldn't return fire at targets they couldn't see. The human vessels remained phase-shifted, appearing on sensors only as brief energy signatures that vanished before weapons could lock on. The second phase of the attack was even more devastating. Human ships began emerging from impossible locations, from inside asteroid fields where no ship should be able to hide, from behind planets where the sensor sweeps had shown nothing, and most disturbing of all, from within the photosphere of the system's star itself. Captain Cho Tae-won brought his ship, the Soul's Vengeance, screaming out of the star's corona at speeds that should have melted any known hull material. His ship's experimental quantum armor glowed white-hot, but held together as he targeted the alien fleet's command ship. "This is for Harmony Station," Tae-won said calmly as he fired a full spread of antimatter torpedoes. The torpedoes didn't just explode when they hit the Conquering Star. They created miniature black holes that lasted for exactly 0.3 seconds, long enough to tear the massive dreadnought into twisted metal fragments, but short enough to avoid, creating permanent gravitational anomalies. Commander HFY barely had time to scream before his ship was crushed out of existence. The alien fleet tried to retreat, but found their escape routes blocked. Human ships had somehow mined the entire system with devices that disrupted faster-than-light travel. The aliens were trapped in normal space with enemies they couldn't see using weapons they couldn't understand. "This is impossible," whispered Captain Velcon of the Zephyrian destroyer Swift Current. "How are they doing this?" His answer came when a human ship materialized directly in front of him. It was the Determination, and Captain Minho was broadcasting on all frequencies. "You came here to demonstrate galactic authority," Minho said, his voice cold and professional. "You wanted to show us our place. Let me show you something instead." The Determination fired a single shot. It wasn't a conventional weapon. It was a quantum disruptor that specifically targeted the molecular bonds in Zephyrian ship hulls. The Swift Current simply came apart, its hull dissolving like sugar in water. Ship after ship met similar fates. The Crystal Collective vessels found their crystalline structures shattered by precisely tuned harmonic weapons. The Corithian ships discovered that their bioarmor was vulnerable to engineered viruses that ate through organic ship components in minutes. For each alien species in the fleet, the humans had developed specific countermeasures. It was clear. They had been studying their potential enemies for years, learning weaknesses, developing targeted weapons. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it was over, 46 alien ships had been destroyed. Only one vessel remained, a small Velthani scout ship that had stayed at the edge of the battle. Admiral Daehyun's voice reached the surviving ship. You will return to the Galactic Council. You will tell them exactly what you saw here, and you will deliver this message. Humanity tried diplomacy. You chose war. If any alien ship enters human space again with hostile intent, we will not stop at destroying your fleets. We will follow you home. The scout ship fled toward the edge of the system, its crew traumatized by what they had witnessed. Behind them, human ships began salvaging alien technology and taking detailed scans of the wreckage. Dr. Sora transmitted her initial analysis to Admiral Dae-hyun. Sir, we've learned more about alien ship design in the last 18 minutes than we did in the previous 3 years. Their technology is actually quite vulnerable once you understand the underlying principles. Good, Dae-hyun replied. Begin full analysis. If they want to escalate this conflict, we'll be ready. In the depths of space, human ships continued their grim work, preparing for the war they knew was coming. The news of Kepler 442 spread across the galaxy like wildfire. 46 ships destroyed in 18 minutes. An entire enforcement fleet wiped out by a species that was supposed to be primitive. The single surviving scout ship carried recordings that most Galactic Council members refused to believe. Ambassador Kreltos stood before the Emergency Council session, his tentacles trembling with rage. These recordings must be fake. No species can develop such advanced weapons in just 3 years. But Elder Mordek had watched the recordings with the eyes of someone who had seen human warfare before. The quantum weapons, the phase-shifted ships, the precision targeting of species-specific weaknesses. It all fit the pattern he remembered from centuries ago. They are not fake, the ancient Velthani said quietly. This is how humans fight. They study their enemies, then they create weapons designed specifically to kill them. Council leader Thexam paced nervously around the chamber's center. Even if the recordings are real, it was only one battle. Perhaps the humans got lucky. Lucky? Mordek's 6 eyes focused on the council leader. They had weapons ready for 7 different species. They knew exactly where to hit each ship type. They had been preparing for this battle for years. Minister Vexera's crystalline body chimed with distress. But that would mean they expected us to attack them. Of course. They expected it, Mordek replied. Humans always expect war. They prepare for it even while they talk about peace. Despite the elders' warnings, the younger species refused to accept that they had been outmatched by a single human system. Within days, the Galactic Council passed Resolution 847C, the complete military containment of humanity. 8 species, committed to the largest joint military operation in galactic history. The assembly would be massive, 50,000 ships from across the galaxy, planet-cracking weapons that could destroy entire worlds, stellar manipulation technology that could make stars go supernova. It would be enough firepower to conquer 100 species like humanity. We will show these humans what true galactic power looks like, declared Admiral Vorthak of the Hegemony. They destroyed one small fleet. We will bring them an armada that can crack planets. But on distant Earth, in the underground command centers beneath the ruins of Old Sol, human leaders were already preparing their response. Admiral Park Yojin stood before the holographic display, showing the gathering alien forces. She was the daughter of Captain Minho and great-granddaughter of the legendary Jiwon. War was in her blood. "How many ships are they bringing?" she asked her intelligence officer. Commander Kim Dongwoo had spent the last 5 years embedded in alien societies, posing as a traitor while gathering military intelligence. His reports had been invaluable in preparing humanity for this moment. 50,000 confirmed ships, Admiral, Dongwu reported. Multiple species, including several we haven't fought before. They have weapons capable of destroying planets. And how many ships do we have? Yojin asked. 3,000 combat vessels plus support ships, replied her fleet coordinator. The numbers seemed hopeless. 50,000 enemy ships against 3,000 human vessels. But the humans in the command center were not worried. They were excited. Perfect, Admiral Yojin said, with a cold smile. They're bringing everything they have to one place. We won't have to hunt them across the galaxy. Dr. Lee Nari, the human fleet's chief science officer, activated her presentation. For the past 3 years, she had been working on humanity's most secret project. What the aliens didn't know was that every human colony world had been secretly militarized since first contact with alien species. Operation Total War is ready, Dr. Nari announced. Every human world, every space station, every research facility has been converted into a military asset. We're not just defending our territory anymore, we're preparing to take theirs. The holographic display changed to show the true scope of human preparation. What aliens thought were peaceful research stations were actually forward military bases. Human civilian ships were disguised warships with more advanced technology than anything the aliens had ever seen. Most importantly, human colonies weren't just settlements. They were weapons factories that had been producing advanced armaments for years. The aliens think we have 50 systems, Admiral Yeojin explained to her staff. They don't know we've secretly established bases in 300 systems across their space. Our intelligence network has been mapping their home worlds, studying their defenses, and preparing for total war. Commander Dongwu brought up detailed files on each alien species. We have complete biological and technological profiles on all 8 species in their alliance. We know their weaknesses, their fears, and most importantly, how to kill them efficiently. The files were disturbing in their thoroughness. Humans had learned that hegemony species were vulnerable to certain frequencies of sound that could liquefy their internal organs. Crystal collective beings could be shattered by precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses. Zephyrian Empire soldiers died quickly when exposed to modified Earth bacteria that their immune systems couldn't fight. What about their planet cracking? Weapons? Asked Captain Lee Jahan, commander of the human stealth fleet. Dr. Nari smiled coldly. We've had similar technology for 2 years. The difference is we've learned how to use stars themselves as weapons. Why crack planets when you can make their suns explode? The alien armada gathered at the edge of human space over the course of several weeks. It was the most impressive military force ever assembled in galactic history. Ships stretched across multiple star systems, their combined firepower enough to sterilize entire sectors of space. Admiral Vorthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and felt satisfaction at the sight. Surely even the stubborn humans would surrender when faced with such overwhelming force. Send the final ultimatum, he ordered his communications officer. The message was broadcast across all human worlds simultaneously. Humans of Earth and the colonies, this is Admiral Vorthak of the Galactic Defense Force. You are surrounded by 50,000 ships representing 8 galactic civilizations. Your choice is simple. Surrender completely and accept permanent oversight, or face total destruction. You have 24 hours to decide. The human response came 12 hours later. It wasn't from Admiral Yeojin or any official government channel. Instead, it came from an unexpected source. A single human ship appeared at the edge of the alien formation. It was small, unremarkable, and appeared to be broadcasting on all frequencies. The ship identified itself as the merchant vessel Inchins, Wrath, commanded by Captain Park Ji-won, not the legendary captain from centuries ago, but her descendant who had taken the same name, Admiral Vorthak. Captain Ji-won's voice echoed across the alien fleet. I want to tell you a story. 300 years ago, your predecessors attacked a human colony ship. The ship was full of families, children, people who had never hurt anyone. Your people killed them all. The alien fleet continued its approach, but something in the human's voice made many commanders feel uneasy. We tried to surrender then, Ji-won continued. We offered you everything we had. You chose to take our lives instead, so we took yours. All of yours. An entire species wiped from existence because they thought they could kill human children without consequences. Admiral Vorthak activated his reply channel. That was centuries ago, human. This time you face a united galaxy. You cannot repeat your past victories. Ji-won's response was quiet, almost conversational. Admiral, you've made a terrible mistake. You've brought your entire military force to one location. You've gathered every ship you have in a single fleet. Do you know what that means? It means you cannot possibly defeat us, Vorthak replied confidently. No, Ji-won said, and her voice carried a coldness that made veteran alien warriors shiver. It means we don't have to hunt you across the galaxy. It means we can end this war in a single battle. The transmission ended, and Captain Ji-won's ship began moving toward the center of the alien formation. It made no attempt to avoid the massive firepower aimed at it. Instead, it broadcast one final message. My name is Captain Park Ji-won of the Earth Defense Force. I carry the name of the woman who showed the galaxy what happens when you threaten human families. Today, you'll learn why humans learn to split atoms before we learn to love. Suddenly, space around the alien fleet began to change. What had appeared to be empty space started revealing hidden human ships, thousands of them, using stealth. Technology so advanced that they had been invisible even at close range. But these weren't the ships from Kepler 442. These were larger, more advanced, and armed with weapons that defied everything the aliens thought they knew about physics. Impossible, Admiral Vorthak whispered as his sensors showed human ships materializing throughout his formation. Where did they come from? Dr. Nari's voice answered him from the lead human vessel. We've been here for weeks, Admiral, waiting, watching, learning everything about your ships, your weapons, your tactics. Did you really think we would wait for you to attack us in our own systems? The human ships had been hidden using technology beyond alien understanding. They had positioned themselves throughout the alien formation over the course of weeks, studying each enemy vessel in detail, preparing for the perfect moment to strike. All human vessels, Admiral Yojin's voice echoed across the quantum communication network. This is the moment we've been preparing for. These aliens came to destroy our worlds, kill our families, and enslave our children. Show them why the galaxy fears humanity. The battle for the survival of human civilization was about to begin. But the aliens were starting to realize they had walked into a trap that had been 3 years in the making. The first shots of the war came from the aliens. Admiral Vorthak, seeing thousands of human ships materializing around his fleet, ordered an immediate attack. All ships, open fire, destroy every human vessel. 50,000 alien ships unleashed, their weapons at once. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and quantum torpedoes filled space with deadly energy. It was enough firepower to vaporize entire planets. The light from the weapons fire could be seen from neighboring star systems, but When the energy dissipated, the human ships were still there. "Impossible!" Vorthak shouted at his tactical officer. "Nothing can survive that much firepower." "Sir," the tactical officer's voice was shaking. "Their ships are surrounded by some kind of energy field. Our weapons aren't penetrating their defenses. Captain?" Park Ji-won's voice came across all frequencies, calm and professional. "Thank you for showing us your weapon's maximum output, Admiral. Now let us show you ours." The human response was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of returning fire with conventional weapons, the human ships began doing something that should have been impossible. They were manipulating space itself. Dr. Park Sora had spent 4 years developing humanity's most advanced weapon system. It wasn't based on energy or projectiles. It was based on controlling the fundamental forces of the universe. Human ships could now manipulate gravity, time, and even the strong nuclear force that held atoms together. The first demonstration came when a human destroyer, the Busan's Fury, targeted a hegemony dreadnought. Instead of firing weapons, the human ship created a localized gravity field around the alien vessel. The dreadnought, which weighed millions of tons, was suddenly crushed by its own mass as gravity around it increased by a factor of 10,000. The massive alien ship collapsed into a sphere no larger than a basketball in less than 3 seconds. "What kind of weapon was that?" Admiral Vorthak demanded. His science officer was staring at the readings in horror. "Sir, they didn't fire a weapon. They changed the laws of physics around that ship." The human attack continued with methodical precision. Each human vessel seemed to target specific alien ships, and each attack was different. Crystal Collective vessels found their molecular structure disrupted by controlled electromagnetic pulses that made their crystalline hulls crumble like sand. Zephyrian ships discovered that humans could accelerate time around their vessels, causing them to age centuries in seconds until they fell apart from metal fatigue. But the most terrifying weapon came from Captain Lee Min-ho, now commanding the heavy cruiser Soul's Vengeance. His target was a Corithian bioship, a living vessel grown rather than built. Instead of destroying it, Min-ho used a biological weapon that turned the ship's own immune system against itself. The bioship began eating itself from the inside out, its own defense systems convinced that every part of the vessel was a hostile infection. The screams of the Corithian crew echoed across the communication channels as their own ship slowly digested them alive. "This is madness," Admiral Vorthak broadcast to all ships. "They're not just fighting us, they're torturing us." Admiral Park Yojin's response came from the human flagship. "Admiral, you came here to destroy our worlds and kill our families. Did you expect us to make it comfortable for you?" The alien fleet tried to retreat, but found their escape routes blocked. Human ships had positioned themselves throughout the Dayab star system, creating a cage of gravity fields that prevented faster-than-light travel. The aliens were trapped in normal space with enemies who seemed to control the very fabric of reality. "All ships ramming speed," Vorthak ordered in desperation. "If we can't outfight them, we'll overwhelm them with numbers." Thousands of alien ships charged toward the human vessels, hoping to destroy them through collision. It was a desperate tactic, but with such overwhelming numbers it might work. It didn't. The human ships simply phased out of normal space-time as the alien vessels approached. The aliens found themselves ramming empty space while human ships reappeared behind them, already targeting their engines and life support systems. Captain Cho Tae-won, commanding the stealth ship Incheon's Ghost, had perfected the art of precision, killing. His specialty was boarding enemy vessels, but not in the traditional way. Taewon's ship could phase its crew directly into enemy vessels, bypassing shields and hull armor entirely. "Boarding party to Hegemony Command Ship," Taewon announced calmly, as his team materialized on the bridge of Admiral Vorthak's flagship. The alien crew found themselves face to face with humans wearing advanced combat armor that made them nearly invulnerable. But the humans didn't immediately start shooting. Instead, they began taking detailed scans of every alien on the bridge. "What are you doing?" Vorthak demanded. "Learning," replied Taewon as his scanner recorded Vorthak's biological data. "We're mapping your species' genetic structure, neural patterns, and biochemical makeup. Within the hour, we'll have weapons specifically designed to kill your entire species." The humans vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving the alien crew alive but terrified. Similar boarding actions were happening throughout the alien fleet. Human special forces were collecting biological samples from every species, gathering the data needed to create species-specific weapons of mass destruction. Dr. Lee Nari was coordinating the biological warfare program from the human fleet's mobile laboratory ship. "We have samples from all 8 species," she reported to Admiral Yeojin. "Estimated time to develop targeted biological agents: 6 hours. "Too long," Yeojin replied. "We need to end this battle before they can call for reinforcements." The human fleet's next attack was psychological as much as physical. Captain Kim Dong-woo had spent years studying alien cultures, learning their fears and superstitions. Now he put that knowledge to use. Human ships began broadcasting across all alien communication channels. But instead of threats or demands, they transmitted recordings of alien civilians from the various homeworlds. The recordings showed families, children, ordinary citizens going about their daily lives. "We know where you live," came the calm voice of Dr. Nari over the broadcasts. "We know the names of your families, the locations of your cities, the weaknesses of your defenses. Every one of you has something to lose." The effect on alien morale was devastating. Soldiers who had come to destroy human worlds were suddenly thinking about their own families, their own children. The knowledge that humans had the capability to strike at their home worlds while they were away fighting created panic throughout the alien fleet. Some alien captains tried to break away from the battle to return home and protect their families. Others demanded immediate surrender negotiations. The unity of the alien alliance began to crumble as each species started worrying more about their own survival than about defeating humanity. Admiral Vorthak watched his grand alliance falling apart and made a desperate decision. All ships with planet-killer weapons target the human homeworld. If we can't win this battle, we'll make them pay the ultimate price. 12 massive alien ships began charging their most powerful weapons. These were the planet crackers, designed to shatter entire worlds. If they fired simultaneously at Earth, they could destroy the human home world even if they lost the battle. The human response was swift and merciless. Admiral Yeojin had been waiting for this moment. "All ships, execute Starfire Protocol. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The human fleet revealed their most terrifying weapon. Instead of trying to stop the planet-killer ships, they targeted the star at the center of the system. Using gravitational manipulation technology, they began destabilizing the star's fusion processes. "You want to destroy our world?" Admiral Yeojin's voice echoed across the chaos of the battlefield. "Fine, but first, watch your fleet burn in stellar fire." The star began to brighten as its fusion rate increased. Solar flares erupted from its surface, reaching out like fiery tentacles toward the alien fleet. But these weren't natural solar flares. They were controlled, directed streams of stellar plasma that human ships guided with precision. Alien vessels found themselves being cooked by the concentrated fury of an entire star. Their shields, designed to deflect weapons, were useless against the heat and radiation of stellar fire. Ships began to melt, their hulls turning liquid as temperatures reached millions of degrees. "Retreat! All ships retreat!" Vorthak screamed, but there was nowhere to go. The human gravity field still prevented faster-than-light travel and sublight. Engines couldn't outrun the stellar fire that human ships continued to direct at them. The 12 planet-killer ships never got the chance to fire their weapons. They were the first targets of the stellar bombardment, their massive hulls vaporized by concentrated solar plasma. As alien ships burned throughout the system, Captain Park Ji-won broadcast one final message to any survivors. "You came to our space to kill our families. You brought weapons to destroy our worlds. Now your fleets burn in the fire of our star. Remember this moment. Remember what happens when you threaten humanity." The Battle of Altair lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, fewer than 1,000 alien ships remained out of the original 50,000. Most of those survivors were damaged beyond repair, their crews traumatized by what they had witnessed. The humans had not lost a single ship, but the real horror was yet to come. As the surviving aliens limped home to their worlds, they carried with them the knowledge that humanity now possessed. Biological samples from all their species. The war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The news of the Altair massacre spread faster than the surviving alien ships could travel. 50,000 ships reduced to burning wreckage in less than an hour. An entire star turned into a weapon, the most powerful military force in galactic history, destroyed by 3,000 human vessels. On the hegemony homeworld of Corvathia Prime, panic filled the streets as the first refugee ships arrived. Captain Velnos, one of the few survivors from Admiral Vorthak's fleet, stood before the hegemony high command with trembling tentacles. "They didn't just defeat us," Velnos reported, his voice hollow with trauma. "They played with us, like children pulling wings off insects. They could have destroyed us all in the first minute, but they wanted us to suffer." Supreme Commander Thexvoth of the hegemony military studied the battle recordings with growing horror. "These weapons, they're beyond anything we've ever seen. How did humans develop such technology so quickly?" "They didn't develop it quickly," Velnos replied. "They've had it for years. Everything we thought we knew about human capabilities was wrong. They've been pretending to be weak while building the most advanced military force in the galaxy." Similar scenes played out across 8 different alien homeworlds. The Crystal Collective's ruling council watched in silence as recordings showed, their crystalline ships crumbling like sand. The Zephyrian Empire's war leaders stared in disbelief at footage of their fastest ships aging centuries in seconds. But the real terror began 3 days after the battle. Dr. Lee Nari had worked without sleep since the biological samples were collected. Her laboratory ship, the Soul's Promise, had become a floating center of biological warfare research. Using genetic material from all 8 alien species, she had created something that would haunt the galaxy forever. Admiral Yeojin, Dr. Nari, reported via secure quantum communication, "The species-specific biological agents are ready for deployment. Each one is designed to target a different alien species while being completely harmless to humans and other galactic life." Admiral Yeojin studied the test results from her command ship. The biological weapons were more effective than anything she had imagined. They could spread through alien populations like wildfire, but would die out naturally after eliminating their target species. It was genocide made precise and clean. "How do we deploy them?" Yojin asked. "We don't need to," Dr. Nari replied with a cold smile. Captain Dongwu's intelligence network has been placing the agents in alien water supplies, food distribution centers, and air recycling systems for the past 2 days. By now, every major alien world has been infected. The first reports came from the outer colonies. Hegemony settlements began reporting a strange new disease that only affected their species. The symptoms started as a simple fever, but within hours, the alien nervous system would shut down completely. Death was inevitable and came within 6 hours of first exposure. On Corvathia Prime, medical teams worked desperately to understand the plague that was killing their people. Dr. Wexnall, the Hegemony's chief medical officer, studied tissue samples under his most advanced equipment. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," he reported to the High Command. "The disease targets our genetic structure specifically. It's completely harmless to other species, but it's 100% fatal to our people." "Where did it come from?" demanded Supreme Commander Thexavoth. "The humans," Dr. Wexnall replied grimly. "They collected biological samples during the battle. They've created a weapon that kills only us." The same nightmare was unfolding across the galaxy. Crystal collective beings were dying as their crystalline structures dissolved from within. Zephyrian Empire citizens found their organs liquefying as modified Earth bacteria ate them alive. Each species faced a different biological weapon, but all faced the same fate: extinction. The human fleet didn't stop with biological warfare. Captain Park Minho led a task force to the Hegemony's industrial worlds, but instead of destroying the planets, he did something worse. Using advanced nanotechnology, human ships released self-replicating machines that converted alien infrastructure into human-compatible systems. "We're not here to destroy your worlds," Captain Minho broadcast to the terrified alien populations. "We're here to take them. Your cities will become our cities. Your factories will serve our needs. Your homes will house human families." The nanobots worked with terrifying efficiency. Alien buildings were dissolved and reformed into human architectural styles. Alien technology was analyzed, improved, and converted to human use. Entire civilizations were being erased and replaced within days. On Earth, the human leadership watched the reports with satisfaction. Admiral Park Yeo-jin stood in the rebuilt command center in Seoul, studying the galactic map as red markers showed. Human-controlled territories expanding at an unprecedented rate. "Status report," she ordered her staff. Commander Kim Dongwoo stepped forward with his intelligence summary. 12 alien species have surrendered unconditionally. 7 more are requesting negotiation. 3 species have gone extinct from the biological weapons. The remaining species are hiding in remote systems, trying to avoid contact. "And our expansion?" Yojin asked. "We now control over 3,000 star systems," replied Captain Lee Jihan. "Our population ships are already en route to the former alien worlds. Human colonies will be established within 6 months. Dr. Park Sora activated a holographic display showing human technological advancement. We've analyzed alien technology from all the captured worlds. Our scientists estimate we've advanced by at least 2 centuries in just 6 months. We now have capabilities that surpass anything the galaxy has ever seen." But the humans weren't finished. Captain Cho Taewon had been assigned to the most disturbing mission of all: psychological warfare. His ships broadcast human culture across the galaxy, but not the peaceful aspects. Instead, they transmitted recordings of human history, showing the endless wars, the genocides, the nuclear weapons, the environmental destruction. "We want every surviving alien to understand what they're dealing with," Taewon explained to his crew. "Humans have been practicing total war for thousands of years. We've survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcano eruptions, and our own attempts to destroy ourselves. We are the ultimate survivors, and survival means eliminating threats." The broadcasts showed alien species what humanity had done to their own planet before reaching the stars. They saw recordings of human wars where entire cities were destroyed, where chemical weapons killed millions, where nuclear fire had turned landscapes into radioactive wastelands. "This is what humans do to each other," the broadcasts explained. "Imagine what we'll do to species that threaten our children." The psychological impact was devastating. Alien populations that had survived the biological weapons and military campaigns began surrendering en masse. The knowledge that they were fighting a species that had nearly destroyed its own homeworld multiple times, yet had still reached the stars, broke their will to resist. On the ancient world of Velthanis, Elder Mordek received visitors for the first time in decades. A group of younger aliens from various species had traveled to his remote monastery, seeking wisdom from the one being who had warned them about humanity. "Elder," pleaded Ambassador Kexathara of the Crystal Collective, "you knew this would happen. You tried to warn us. Tell us how to stop them." Mordek's ancient eyes studied the desperate aliens gathered before him. "Stop them? Child, you still don't understand. This isn't about stopping humans. This is about surviving them." "But surely there must be a way," insisted Captain Velketh of the Zephyrian Remnant Fleet. "They're just one species. The galaxy is vast." "The galaxy was vast when the Corvins controlled hundreds of worlds," Mordek replied. "It was vast when 50,000 ships assembled to destroy humanity. Vastness means nothing to a species that treats the universe itself as an enemy to be conquered." The Elder activated an old recording device, showing footage from the original human expansion 3 centuries ago. "Watch this. This is what humans did to the Corvin Syndicate. Every world, every station, every ship, total annihilation. And that was when humans were primitive." The recordings showed human ships systematically destroying Corvin civilization. But more disturbing were the records of what came after. Humans had studied every aspect of Corvin society, technology, and biology. They had learned from their enemies even as they destroyed them. "Humans don't just fight wars," Mordek explained. "They evolve from them. Every conflict makes them stronger, smarter, more dangerous. You didn't just lose a war against humanity. You gave them the knowledge they needed to conquer the galaxy." As if to prove the Elder's point, reports began arriving of human ships appearing in the most remote systems. They weren't exploring or expanding anymore. They were hunting. Any alien ship, any alien settlement, any sign of organized alien resistance was being systematically eliminated. Captain Park Ji-won led the hunt from her flagship, now renamed the Galactic Cleansing. Her mission was simple: ensure that no alien species would ever again pose a threat to humanity. "We gave them a chance," she broadcast to her fleet. "We offered them peace when we first met them. They chose war. Now they face the consequences of that choice." The galaxy was learning what Elder Mordek had tried to tell them years ago. Humans didn't fight to win battles. They fought to ensure no one could ever threaten them again. And they were very, very good at it. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Altair. The galaxy was no longer the same place it had been when the Galactic Council first voted to contain humanity. The great chamber where that fateful decision had been made now lay empty and silent, its seats covered in dust and debris. Elder Mordek sat alone in the ruins of the council hall, his ancient shell reflecting the pale light that filtered through broken windows. Outside, human patrol ships moved across the sky in perfect formation, their sleek hulls gleaming like metal predators. The sound of their engines had become as common as wind on this world that had once been the center of galactic civilization. The old Velthani had survived longer than most of his species. The biological weapon that had killed billions of his people had somehow passed over him. Perhaps because his ancient immune system was too different from younger Velthani. Or perhaps the humans had decided that one old survivor should remain, to remember what had been lost. Footsteps echoed through the empty hall. Elder Mordek looked up to see a human woman approaching. She wore the dark blue uniform of the Human Colonial Authority, with the rank insignia of a fleet admiral. Her face was young, but her eyes held the cold confidence of someone who had won a war that reshaped the galaxy. "Elder Mordek," Admiral Park Yojin said as she stopped before the ancient alien. "I am Admiral Yojin of the Human Defense Force. I believe you have been waiting for this conversation." The elder's 6 eyes studied the human leader. "Admiral, I wondered when one of you would come to speak with me. I assume you're here to decide whether the last Velthani should live or die." "Actually, I'm here to thank you," Yojin said, surprising the elder. "Your warnings to the Galactic Council were recorded and studied by our intelligence services. You helped us understand how other species viewed humanity. That knowledge was very useful in planning our strategy." Mordek made a sound that his translator rendered as bitter laughter. "So even my attempts to save the galaxy ended up helping you destroy it." "Destroy it?" Yojin raised an eyebrow. "Elder, look around you. This world is more peaceful now than it has been in centuries. No more wars between species. No more territorial disputes. No more fear of invasion or conquest. Because there's only one species left with the power to wage war," Mordek replied. "Exactly," Yojin said without any trace of shame. "Peace through strength. It's an old human concept." The Admiral activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Red markers indicated human-controlled systems, which now numbered over 5,000. Green markers showed alien populations that had accepted human rule and were being allowed to survive under strict oversight. There were very few green markers. "The war is over, Elder," Yojin explained. 7 alien species are completely extinct. 12 more exist only in small populations on reservation worlds. The remaining species have sworn absolute loyalty to humanity and have been integrated into our colonial system." "Integrated." Mordek repeated the word slowly. "A pleasant way to say enslaved." "Not enslaved," Yojin corrected. "Protected. Fed. Given purpose. The aliens who accept human authority live better lives now than they did before. No wars, no famines, no diseases. Human medical technology has extended their lifespans. Human agriculture feeds them better than their old systems ever did." Through the broken windows, Mordek could see alien workers in the distance, laboring under human supervision to rebuild the ruined city. They looked healthy and well-fed, but there was something missing from their movements. They worked without joy, without hope, like machines that had been programmed to perform tasks. "And those who don't accept human authority?" Mordek asked. They choose extinction, Yojin replied simply. We learned from the Corvin Syndicate 3 centuries ago that it's better to eliminate resistance completely than to allow it to fester and grow. Captain Kim Dongwoo entered the hall carrying a data pad with the latest reports. He had been promoted to Director of Alien Affairs, responsible for managing the surviving alien populations across human space. Admiral, Dongwoo reported, the integration of the former Zephyrian worlds is complete. The remaining population has been relocated to agricultural colonies where they'll be more useful. Dr. Nari's breeding programs are showing good results. We should have genetically optimized worker populations within 2 generations. Breeding. Programs? Mordek's ancient voice carried horror. Nothing cruel, Yojin assured him. We're simply ensuring that surviving alien populations are bred for traits that make them more suitable for their roles in human society. Intelligence and aggression are being bred out, while physical strength and docility are being enhanced. You're turning sentient beings into livestock, Mordek whispered. We're ensuring galactic peace, Yojin corrected. Intelligent aliens make war, docile ones make good workers. It's simple logic. Dr. Lee Nari arrived with her own report, her uniform bearing the insignia of the Department of Biological Management. She had been responsible for the genetic modification, programs that were reshaping alien species to better serve human needs. Admiral, Dr. Nari announced, the Crystal Collective population is adapting well to the neural implants. They're 40% more efficient at processing raw materials now that their individual thoughts have been replaced with collective programming. The hegemony workers are responding excellently to the loyalty conditioning. We haven't had a single act of rebellion in 6 months. Captain Cho Tae-won entered next, his uniform marked with the symbols of the Galactic Monitoring Division. His job was to ensure that no hidden alien populations could organize resistance against human rule. All sectors clear, Admiral, Tae-won reported. The last hidden Corithian colony was located and processed yesterday. No survivors. The galaxy is now completely under human control. Processed, Mordek noted the euphemism. You mean murdered. We mean neutralized as a threat, Yojin replied calmly. Elder, you seem to think we're monsters. But look at what we've accomplished. For the first time in galactic history, there is true peace. No species fights another. No worlds are invaded. No children die in wars they didn't start. Because you killed anyone who might fight, Mordek said. Because we eliminated the source of conflict, Yojin corrected. War comes from competition between species with different goals. Remove the competition, and you remove the war. Captain Park Min-ho arrived with the final report of the day. He had been placed in charge of human expansion operations, responsible for establishing new colonies on former alien worlds. Admiral, Min-ho announced. The terraforming of the former hegemony homeworld is complete. The first human families will arrive next month. We've preserved some of the original architecture as historical monuments, but the cities have been completely rebuilt for human habitation. What happened to the original inhabitants? Mordek asked. Though he suspected, he already knew the answer. The planet is much more beautiful now, Min-ho replied, avoiding a direct answer. Human children will grow up there in safety, never knowing the fear of alien invasion. Admiral Yeo-jin looked out through the broken windows at the sunset painting, the sky in shades of red and gold. Elder, I want you to understand something. Humans didn't choose this path. We offered peace when we first encountered galactic civilization. We tried diplomacy, trade, cooperation. Your people chose war instead. My People tried to prevent war, Mordek protested. Your people knew war was coming and did nothing to stop it, Yeojin corrected. You warned the council, but you didn't act. You could have convinced them to leave humanity alone, but you didn't. You chose to let events unfold. The Admiral turned, back to face the ancient alien. Every species in this galaxy made the same choice. They chose to see humanity as a threat to be contained, rather than a partner to work with. They chose fear over friendship. They chose war over peace. So you chose extinction for them, Mordek said quietly. We chose survival for our children, Yeojin replied. And now, galactic civilization will survive too. Under human guidance, the galaxy will prosper like never before. Our technology, our organization, our vision will create a golden age that lasts forever. Captain Lee Ji-han entered the hall, his uniform bearing the insignia of the Historical Preservation Service. His job was to record the events of the war for future human generations. Admiral, Ji-han reported, the final archives have been completed. Every detail of the war has been recorded and stored. Future human generations will know exactly what happened when aliens tried to contain humanity. Good, Yeojin nodded. And the alien survivors' testimony? All recorded, Ji-han confirmed, including Elder Mordek's warnings to the original Galactic Council. It will serve as an excellent reminder of what happens when you underestimate human determination. Elder Mordek looked around at the human officers surrounding him. Each one represented a different aspect of humanity's complete domination of the galaxy. Military conquest, biological warfare, genetic manipulation, population control, terraforming, historical records. They had thought of everything. So what happens to me now? The elder asked. You continue to live, Admiral Yeojin replied. You will be relocated to a comfortable facility where you can record your memories of the old galaxy. Your testimony will be preserved as a historical document, a reminder of the price of opposing humanity. A zoo exhibit, Mordek said bitterly. A teacher, Yeojin corrected. Your story will be taught to human children so they understand why their parents had to do terrible things to protect them. You will help future generations understand that sometimes survival requires absolute victory. As the human officers left the ruined council hall, Elder Mordek remained alone with his thoughts. Outside, human ships continued their patrols, maintaining the peace of an empty galaxy. The stars still shone in the darkness, but now they shone only on human worlds. The elders had said not to oppose humans. The stars had mocked that warning. Now the stars burned only for humanity, and the galaxy had learned why some warnings should never be ignored.